Yo, good day, and welcome to another episode of Road FS Detail Memoirs. I cannot believe it's midsummer.
It is. We're in July.
Like, what the heck, man? It's like I blinked and it was Southern Detailers Conference. I blinked again and it was 4th of July. What the heck?
He keeps blinking, and I keep being there, and he keeps blinking again.
Dude,
hoping
I know.
something
Hoping you're going to be gone. Yeah.
Make him go away. Make him go away.
I don't know how the weather's been like for you guys, but it's been an unusually weird summer for us. So, I mean, it seriously, like 2 weeks ago, it was cold and super rainy. We went from like 60s to 90s overnight, and it felt like it was still March.
That's
I know,
it.
It's
That's
like
it.
crazy. So, for those of you that are tuning in and you don't know us, I don't know how that's possible. I'm Jody.
And I'm Rod. And if you're just tuning in and you've never seen us and you stumbled upon this, I apologize. But this week, another guy that you should know for sure is Shad Stoker from Buddco. How are you doing, Shad?
Fantastic. Doing wonderful.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. You're like one of the most positive guys I ever see out here. So
what's not to be positive about? I mean, if you're not positive, if you're not happy, it's by choice. It's as cut and dry as that.
Yep. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. That's the whole show right there. No, I mean, that honestly, that is one of the things I hope we were going to get into today, because, whenever we see you, you've always got a smile on your face, or you're always,
pumping people
up or, just doing something that's on a positive note. I just wish that everyone could do that. I mean, there's so much, good that we can find out there and the things that we are doing, and I'm going to exclude the whole rest of the entire world and all the craziness that goes on. I'm just talking about in our industry with the stuff that's going on right now. There is so much positive stuff that's going on in a forward direction for the whole industry.
And Rod, what's funny about that is everyone can. And like, this isn't like, I wasn't born this way. I haven't always been this way. I mean, I was extremely negative for most of my life. Well, I wouldn't say extremely negative, but I was certainly at bad times and, difficulty. You wake up, you stub your toe and your whole day is ruined. But through work, man, just work and self-development and self-growth. This is my daily attitude now, because I've learned that it can be, that I can choose to, and that's all through gratitude, man. Gratitude is the biggest catalyst for that for me. It's something that I work on and use every single day, every moment of every day. So it's a choice, so.
Yeah, I love hanging with you and Jamie Gonzalez, J&G Auto Recon. I mean, it's like, I got the opportunity to drop in on you guys last week, and just hanging with you guys, your optimism, your passion, your vision for things that you're working on together, but also separately, it's infectious, right? And it really got me thinking a lot, especially the last couple of days. I've been in my mindset a little on the negative side, and I've been really looking forward to this conversation, because I think a lot of times business owners hit stumbling blocks because of their own mindset.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because I've been battling this kind of the same thing. Just this feeling of stagnation, right? Of not feeling like I'm making enough progress quick enough on my goals. And I had this revelation the other day, and I actually made a video. I didn't post it just because it's been crazy busy and I haven't gotten a chance to, but like we get focused on too much on where we're going. And we, not often enough, we don't take the time to look at where we came from, right? I mean, our goals and where we're heading, it's extremely important. But if you're always waiting, if you're always chasing that carrot to be happy, if it's, when I get this account, when I get the new job, when I get the new house, I'll be happy then, you're always going to be chasing happiness. If you don't stop so again, the revelation I had the other day is, man, today I'm the man that I wanted to be 10 years ago. Like everything, the house, the car, my gorgeous woman, everything is the man that I dreamed to be 10 years ago. So, and I'm not saying to get stuck in the past and stop progressing, but man, take time to appreciate where you've come from, how far you've come.
Yeah.
And when I did that, it was an instant shift. It was like, all right, here we go. And then since that was a few days ago, and since then it's just been, I hit the road running again. And it's just being grateful for what you have and what you've already achieved without losing. And that's kind of the trick there, without losing sight and getting complacent, and not continuing to work and strive and become better.
Yeah. And I kind of look at it like a filing cabinet, if you will. There's the past, the present, and the future, and you can keep focus on all three of those by compartmentalizing those. And you can say, look, this is the past, this is where we're at, and it's sometimes it's fun to look at it, sometimes it's painful, some whatever, but you can look at it and then you can put that aside and say, okay, now we're going to focus on today. Where are we at today? Okay, today, Jody, we got to deal with this, and we got Shad coming up, and we got to book somebody for next week, and what are we doing? And that's the present stuff that's going on. And then you can always look at the future and say, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to plan. And it's good to keep all three of those in focus. And to me, it's like not losing yourself on any of it, right? I mean, we look at where our software was 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and then we look at where we want to be, but you got to still focus on today. Today, what are we getting done? What's getting finished up? What are we testing? And I think it's important to do that, because I like to, I look at stuff and I'm like, okay, this thing happened, right? So let's say some major thing happened. You lose a big account, or, you don't get that big account that you wanted. That's kind of a present day thing. And you can look at that, but you don't have to look at, you can say reality is reality. It sucks. Okay. You don't have to not say something sucks. That sucked, but it's, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to refocus, and what are we going to concentrate on? And Jody and I were just this morning talking about, okay, you and I, we need to do this, and this is where we're at, and we need to refocus, and we need to make sure we're doing this consistency. And it's not a negative thing. It's just like, yeah, I mean, there was one time when I said something to Jody, and it's like, no, that one's on me. That one's on me. And we just consistently going back and forth and saying, what do we need to do to improve, so that in the present we can make a change that's going to affect the future? Because that's all you can do, is make a change now that's going to affect in the future. You can't just sit there and go, man, I wish I had $1 million more. You got to do something.
Absolutely. That's the thing about it is it's, it's not the things that happen to us. The things that happen to us don't really matter. It's our reaction to them. So when you lose those big accounts, or when those negative things happen, you can use them as, a reason to feel sorry for yourself, or realize that those are just opportunities to grow and learn. And that's all life is try, fail, grow. And I mean, it's just like, there's a difference between failing and being a failure. Failing is part of life. It's part of business. But the only time you can be a failure is if you quit. Like if I wanted to be a doctor, I could be working to become, I mean, obviously I'm 40 years old. I'm not going to be a doctor now, but I could go and take one community college class a semester and be working towards being a doctor. And I'll never be a failure until I stop doing that. Right. So failing are just lessons, man. They are just opportunities to learn. And that's the only way we grow. The reality is we never grow during good times. We don't grow from the things that we already know. We don't grow from, when things are going good. We only grow when we have hurdles. So it's all your perspective.
Well, one of the things that hit me yesterday as I was preparing for our conversation, right? Because I really wanted to focus on, from your perspective, things that trip you up. And I always go out and I always look at people's feeds, right? And there are some very iconic photos of you participating in a Spartan race. I mean, you have an arm in a sling, you're crawling underneath this rope course. And I think that's the way business is. A lot of times, we are crippled on one arm. We want to have it function, but for some reason, some aspect of our business is crippled, and yet we're still clawing, fighting towards that goal. And to me, I just had this picture of a business owner. So, as you experience that, how did you push through that? And what do you see as you're talking to other business owners that are, having their arm in a sling and holding them back?
So in regards to holding them, I mean, that's the thing, is you said it, holding them back. The only person that's holding them back is themselves. Nobody can hold you back. But that Spartan race, man. So I went into that was, I don't know if you're familiar with the Spartan race, but there's multiple different lengths of them. And they have a 5K, a 10K, and a 21K. So the sprint, super, and the beast. And if you achieve all three of them in a year, in a single calendar year, it's called the trifecta. And you get the special medal, and you get, that thing was, I had trained for like 8 months for that race. It was the beast. It was the 21. So it's the equivalent to a marathon with the mileage. It's 21K, so 13-ish miles and like 40 obstacles. Most of it's uphill. It's in the mountains, so you're running uphill, going through rivers and different things. So that was the worst finish that I had ever had in a Spartan race, and it was the race that I learned the most about myself, because the fifth obstacle in the fifth of 40 obstacles, I went to grab a rope. The rope kind of gave way, and I tore my pec tendon. It was a mile and a quarter into the race. So I had a decision to make. I tried it again, and my arm just, every time I went to do it, it would come out of socket. That my right arm was dead, which is my dominant arm. I had a decision to make. I could stop and walk back to the entry and be done, or I could try and continue and just push as far as I could. I had to get back to I could go back to the finish, or I could try and get to the end. And that was more challenging than I can put into words, because I run age group, which is kind of it's for kind of washed up athletes that are still trying to hold on to their glory days. So it's a little bit more. They have the open, which you can get help with the obstacles. If you don't do the obstacle, then you just get to continue. Age group is different. If you don't do the obstacle, you have to do 30 burpees. If you can't do the 30 burpees, they pull your bib and you don't get a finish. So since most of the obstacles you have to use 2 arms, I ended up having to do 861 arm burpees to complete that race, on top of the 12 miles that you guys know what a burpee is, right?
Yep.
To push up to a jumping jack over and over. So, and every time I came to an obstacle, I told myself, man, can I do this? Can I do this? I said, well, might as well try. What's the worst going to happen? You fell, and then you have to get carted. And every obstacle, the medical was like, are you good? You know, and there was a swim. I had to complete a 800-meter swim with one arm. So at the end of it, I had high hopes to podium. I had, was going to qualify for Worlds. There was a lot riding on this race. And I ended up finishing middle of the pack. Like I was like, I don't know, 200 or 400 people. But I learned more about myself in that race than any of the races that I had finished top 10. I learned more about myself because I pushed through something I never thought that I could have. And it was all just get to the next obstacle, man. Just make it the next obstacle. And if you can't make it, if you physically can't do it, then you can quit. And then I'd get through that one. And then, okay, it's just one step at a time, right? It's how does the phrase go? What's the best way to eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Right.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing is that literally is, I think that's a business lesson that a lot of people don't see. They fail to see it, is that you don't have to get to 100 million. You have to get to the next goal. What is the next goal? What is the next goal? And eventually you will get there. Yep. And it's funny because a lot of times we don't even look at it. Jody and I will post goals on our board as a way to motivate ourselves. And then we actually sat down one day and we looked at over the last 5 years at just the incremental growth year over year over year. And we're like, oh, wow, we hit our goal every year. But we don't look at it. It's not about looking back at it and pounding yourself and going, we didn't do it. It's like, set a goal. That's something you can reach, and then go for it, and then exceed that goal and move on, and just keep that mindset of you can fix the problems. If there's an obstacle, you can go over it, around it, under it, through it, whatever it takes. How do we deal with this? It's not, oh no, we got to lay down and die. It's like, what do we do to get through this? Yeah. So an analogy that I heard that I love is, I forget the missiles, but the missiles that are like the really sophisticated tracking missiles where they, you can set a target. The Patriot missiles, right? The Patriot missiles, yeah.
You guys know the way those work, right? They don't just set a fixed location and it just goes there and instantly hits. Along the way, it is constantly course correcting, because when there's so many things that happen that they can't account for before they launch that missile. So it goes, and every 100 feet or so, it recalibrates and it course corrects, and every single time it hits its target, because all it does is these little tiny changes to get where it needs to go. And that's how guys should approach business. Just get to that failure and then figure it out. Don't try and figure it out beforehand. This is something that I have. I'm speaking from experience. I was the guy that had to know everything about everything before I would even try. I had to know the internal, before I picked up a polisher, I had to know how it worked and why it worked, and what the internal, how the motors were wound, and it was all for nothing. Like all the stuff that I learned, it didn't matter once I picked it up. So I used to, paralysis by analysis, just overthinking things. Just get there, get to that failure, hit that wall, and then figure out how you got to get around it or over it. Yeah. But until you get there, worrying about it is a waste of time.
Yeah. We one time we were in Las Vegas, and we were in Justin Day's shop.
Justin Day's.
Yeah, Justin Day's shop at an event, and there was a really young kid. I want to say like 2 months out of high school, wanted to have a detailing business. He was there with his girlfriend, and he was just really positive attitude. But he looks at us, and we'd been talking to him for a little while, and he goes, I bought a polisher, but I've never used it because I'm scared I'm going to burn through. And I go, here's what you do. Go to a junkyard, get a hood, bring it home, and burn through. Just get that failure out of your way. Figure out what it takes, how many strokes, how hard do you push. Do whatever it takes to burn through that hood so you get that out of your system and you're not worried about it, and don't let it debilitate you. I know with Jody, being as Jody, when we started doing this, he had never worked on cars, never done anything like that. And one of the first times he ever held a polisher in his hand was on Air Force One. I mean, here's a polisher, go.
Yeah. Thank goodness for Scott Mason, because, he was so kind, right? He put me in a non-visual place in the engine cowl. He's like, all right, I'm going to teach you how to use this polisher. Right. And it was amazing because as I was working, he's like, dude, he goes, switch hands. I go, what do you mean switch hands? I go, I'm right-handed. So I was holding it this way. He goes, yeah, but the way you're fighting it, switch hands. So I switched it the other way. And I'm like, man. And it was amazing how that minor correction set me off for success the rest of the week.
Yeah. And that's great. I mean, not all of us can be as lucky as Jody to just be put on that Air Force One. But, I mean, Rod, look, I mean, take you, for example, like the first time you picked up a polisher, did you think that one day I'm going to be on the most highly sought after reconditioning project in the country?
No,
you had no idea what you were doing.
No, you're just polishing a little thing out. It's like, oh, I got this fender. It's got a little scuff. I want to see if I can fix this. Holy crap, I fixed it. And then you look back, and years later, you're working on all of these amazing things. I mean, it's like you said, it's where you wanted to be in 10 years. You're like, I can't believe that I get the opportunity to go and do these things. And I think that is, I think it's two things that slow people down or stop them. And their thing is, first off, they think they have to start there. They want to go from a tricycle to a Ferrari, and they don't enjoy the steps along the way. And then the other thing is they look at that Ferrari and they go, well, I'll never get there. I shouldn't even try. And the point with that is just, take it as it comes, and then just keep always working towards your goals.
You have to learn to love the process. You have to learn to love the process, because the reality, just like I talked about earlier, if you're always chasing that goal, you're never going to be happy. You have to learn to love the process, the learning process, the steps. When you can learn to love the steps that it takes to get to that goal, you will always be fulfilled. You will always be happy. So yeah, it's just, love the process.
Well, I think one of the things that has really hit me, especially since my visit with you last week and with Jamie, is I think a lot of business owners look at what other people have done and they hold themselves back because it's already in their mind been done. And as you and I and Jamie were exploring, we're like, wait a sec, there's a totally different opportunity here that I can exploit because of my experience, my opportunities, my connection. And I think a lot of times we hold ourselves back because we're comparing ourselves too much to other people instead of embracing the opportunities that are right in front of us.
Yep. The only person you should be comparing yourself to is the person that you were yesterday. Nothing else matters. So if you can get better every single day, you will always you'll continue to grow. Because what another person is doing can't impact you unless you allow it to. The guy that's doing it down the street, I can't let him take business from me unless I let him, unless I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. So right. I'm glad you said that, because it is, mindset is everything. We are the only one that can hold ourselves back, and we're the only ones that can push ourselves forward. No matter how much your friends and family and everyone boosts you up, it all starts and ends with you and your self-belief. And when you can realize that you've already done incredible things, there's already things that you've accomplished that are amazing, that you're one of very few few people that could have actually done that. We've all got things like that. We've all got things that we've done that 95% of the people haven't done or couldn't do. And it's, and without self-belief, you're dead in the water, because you're never, if you don't believe you can achieve something, if you don't genuinely believe that, you're never even going to try. So I like to use, past wins. I like to go through a highlight reel and think of my, when I'm doing something, when I'm about to do something big or out of the ordinary, like this, for example. This is my first podcast, and I was extremely nervous. So what I did is I took a few minutes beforehand and I stacked wins. So I thought about things in the past that I had done, my achievements, and I stacked them, replayed them in my mind. And then that very last one was the end of this podcast, where it was just, we all did incredible. So I used my past wins as a catalyst to roll into this as if it already happened. And I mean, I came on and felt good.
Yep. And I think that's, you look at like world-class athletes and they do that. They visualize the win, right? Michael Phelps, or, they sit there and they're thinking about what it's going to be like when they win that race. And at the end, they're not thinking about, oh my gosh, am I going to get all my strokes? And they don't think about all the negative stuff. They think about what it's going to be like when they get the win,
Mm-hmm. And that's why, that's why I stack those wins, is because not only am I visualizing that win, but I'm using past experiences to feel that actual internal feeling of winning. So I'm replaying these events where I felt this enormous gratitude and fulfillment, and then I roll it into visualizing what I'm going to do, and I already have that feeling from the thing that I haven't even done yet.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things, and I'm gonna do counter, right? Because I think a lot of people struggle with, all right, how do I balance having vision and passion and positivity, but also look at the challenges with realism, right? Because a lot of times, and Rod and I have had this conversation, right? It is very hard for me to get into a negative space. And I don't like to talk negatively. It hurts my soul, right? But at the same time, there has to be a level set where I go, you know what, this is where we are and we need to make a change. And if I'm not open to being really authentic with myself, but embracing, you know what, yeah, this is where I'm at, I'm here, but dude, I can get here. So how do you balance, or maybe you don't, what do you do to counter that?
So sorry, explain that one more time to me. Counter the feeling of like being real.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
is it kind of like,
I think a lot of times people look at me and you and go, oh, you guys just have a Pollyanna view, you're just, everything's great and rosy, but they don't see that we're also embracing the challenge, the reality of where we are. And I think a lot of people go, oh, you're just positive, you just, you're not being realistic with yourself.
I have every single day, I have moments where I'm not positive, where I'm extremely negative, where I'm pissed off, where I'm mad. But what I've learned, and those are things that used to would normally impact me all day long. Something bad happened in the morning, my whole day was affected. I was ornery, I was negative the entire day. What I've learned to do through practice and just over time is knowing that as much as possible. So when I get into those moments, when I find myself angry and just, oh man, this person's not doing this, or this customer did, I go back to gratitude. I go back to just positive self-talk and being grateful for even the opportunity to have that loss. If I lose something, I can stop and go back to gratitude and be grateful that I even had the opportunity to lose that account or to lose that customer or whatever it was. Right? Because if I figured out how to get that customer or a customer once, I can do it again, and I can do it over and over and over again. So it's not that I'm positive all day long, but what I've learned to do is get back to center, if you will. So I get off center quite a bit. I've just gotten really good at getting back to center, and I do that through gratitude. Yeah.
And I wonder if it's a situation where we basically go, okay, we're about to enter into where we're going to talk about some real stuff, and all of it's not going to be positive. So, so-and-so just left and we lost this account and whatever, somebody stole $100,000, whatever the really negative stuff is, we're going to talk about that. But then as soon as that's over and we talk about what actually happened, Now we're going to talk about what opportunities we have to fix it. What's next? Let's get into a positive space and basically acknowledge that there's going to be some stuff that's not so rosy, but we've got to get through that to decide on the next step, because there'll be times literally, and I'm probably the worst one with Jody. You know, this, I'm going to throw out an example here. A couple of months ago, I ran over Jody's car. Okay. No, there's no joke. I was in a really negative space, and I said, I got to go home. I'm not doing good. And I walked out, and I normally back straight up in my big 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive 4-door truck. And then I turn. And for whatever reason, I just cranked the wheel to the left and I just went. And about the time that my tire got up all the way up Jody's door up to the mirror, I realized I was on top of his Z3. So I came back down. I came in. I was totally upset. I'm like, Jody, I just ran over your freaking car. I was all pissed off. And Jody goes, hey, it's all good. And I went, no, it's not all good. It's not all good. And I actually got mad at him because he wouldn't acknowledge that something negative just happened. I just ran over your car. Just say it's bad.
Like it's all
We're going to fix it.
You weren't
good.
You weren't going to run over his car. You already had. So
Yeah.
Jody he couldn't, him getting upset wasn't going to change what happened. Right.
Right.
So he could let you and your negativity impact him, or he could realize that there was a problem he was going to have to figure out and deal with it. So that's what I'm saying is things aren't always rosy, but you don't have to deal with these negative things in a manner that affects you. You don't have to be pissed off about it. Like you can, and that's where I go back to gratitude. So when difficult things happen, I can get back to center. And the thing is had you taken a minute before you jumped in that car, when you were already upset, if you had taken a minute to be grateful, to get back to center before you took off, do you think you would have ran over his car?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Exactly.
And the thing about it is what's funny about the whole situation is after we went down, and we have a really, really great company here in town. Big shout out to McDowells Automotive Repair, because he fixed a dent of me running over Jody's Z3 BMW with a 4-wheel drive truck with PDR.
And it looks awesome.
Wow.
We didn't even have to repaint it.
You can't even tell. I mean,
So-
it's awesome. They did a great
It
job.
It turned into something that was positive in a sense that it wasn't a complete repaint. I didn't destroy his car beyond repair. Literally did not even put a scratch on my truck. I don't know
And now,
how.
and from that, you have a PDR guy that you can confidently refer people to.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's all about perspective, man. So ultimately,
it is.
It's a net gain.
Everything
Can be a net gain if you choose to look. It's all perspective. I mean, it's just like, when and I used to be really bad at this too, but when I leave in the morning and I get 5 minutes from my house and I realize that I forgot my wallet, I can choose to be pissed off that I forgot my wallet, or I can be grateful that I remembered before I got to work.
Yeah.
It's everything's perspective, man. It's
Right.
what
No, and I did
how
that
you
the
choose
other
to
day.
see
I
it.
actually forgot my computer. I got all the way to the office. I walked in the door and I went, and I have my lunch, but I don't have a computer. And I was like, and I actually sat there and I went, well, at least I can get my phone onto my screen and I can do work through my phone. So, you work through your phone, you do whatever. We've had podcasts, which this is funny. We always go back to this one. This is one of the funniest experiences we ever had, but we were doing a podcast and we didn't have an actual camera, right? We have a real camera. We have a soundboard. We're very lucky that we've improved our booth as we go, but we actually had Jody's iPhone packing taped onto a cardboard box. And as the podcast is going, the phone is sliding down ever so slightly. And so during the podcast, Jody and I just keep adjusting our chairs and we just keep going down. And the whole time we are laughing about it. And we laughed the entire podcast. And it was funny. And we were actually grateful we had the packing tape so that we could tape it up there. But it was just absolutely hilarious. And that's the thing is we've had podcasts that have been a complete disaster. The audio's gone out. The video's gone out. We were one live with Keith Duplessis and Kyle Clark. And our side went dead. Our internet in our building went down. And we were like, oh my gosh, what are they going to do? They just kept going.
Yep. I saw that episode just recently.
Well, I guess we're just going to keep on going. And we popped back in and they were just going along. And so I think that there are times when things happen and it is not the greatest thing in the world, right? It's something that is not, it's not a positive thing.
Yeah.
Something happens. It's not ideal. That's probably the best way to put it. It's not ideal. And I think you just have to stop and say, okay, this is not an ideal situation. What are we going to do to course correct? And I love that. We always use the term adjusting the dials, right? We're in the operating room. We're in the, the big, we're the Wizard of Oz, right? We're adjusting the dial here or there. And it's not like you're going to take that dial and go full left to full right. That's not going to fix it. It's a small adjustment here or there, and then watch what happens and see how it goes. It's I look at it as, if you've ever driven a boat, it's the difference between driving a short little 16-foot boat and like an 80-foot yacht, right? Short little 16-foot boat, you give it a little bit of this and you're gone, man. You're over to the side. Big yacht, you crank it like this and it's a really long time until you see it. And that's what a business is, an 800-foot yacht that's 40 feet wide, and you got 300 passengers coming along with you, and you have to do small adjustments here and there until you get it just right. And just when you think you've got it on course, there's going to be a rock in the way or something you have to readjust. You're constantly making changes. And I think as long as you accept that and you embrace the fact that we're going to constantly, somebody has to steer the ship. There's no autopilot. It doesn't work that way.
That's life. Like, I mean, it's not just business. That's life. I mean, nothing is ever going to go the way you expect it to. And if it did, would it be any fun? Like, if you got, I mean, if you got what you wanted every single day, every single time, I mean,
no,
you know, I hear it all the time. Like, there's billionaires, millionaires, and billionaires. Some of the wealthiest people in the world are some of the most unhappy people in the world. Because they don't have any fulfillment. Like, where are the challenges? I mean, if you're not constantly overcoming, you know, it's you don't have that self-fulfillment. I mean, there's no, you know, just like that race we talked about earlier, there was no better feeling. Like I said, I finished 200 of 400. I was hoping to place top 3 in that race in my age group. And that was the best race of my entire life. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I tore my pec tendon, which may have already been torn. And luckily, because of the insurance that I had to acquire from them, I got it repaired for free. So, you know, I mean, I lose a few months, but what I learned about myself was incredible. But just, you know, we talked about it earlier, but that story, which was fantastic about you guys' first podcast, goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You guys just decided to make it happen. You just did it. This is what we have. Let's make it work. And look at you now. I mean, you got fancy mics. You got that, you know, state-of-the-art booth we were talking about earlier. You know? I mean, you guys are one of the most predominant
Oz, baby.
You know? You guys are one of the best, most predominant podcasts in the detailing industry, and it all started because you just said, "Screw it, let's do it. Let's take this phone up and let's roll."
Yep.
That's it.
And that is, I mean, and I think that is kind of, you know, as you progress in your career and go from where you've been to where you are, and the rest of us, when you hit that certain point where, you know, you look at the young guys that are struggling and they're trying to figure out how to do it. And you start giving back and giving them advice that's trying to help them get there in a shorter amount of time, right? It's like, hey, it took us 12 years to get to this point. You can do this and you'll skip this first 3 years of adjustments and struggle. And that's what I think it's all about, is trying to help other people in the industry. And I wish that a lot of people would see that. I hope that they do. I mean, that's going to be our goal, is to keep encouraging people to be positive about it and helping people out instead of dragging them down when they ask a question. Embrace the fact that they're trying to learn. You know, like you said, people are just trying to learn. If they don't know how to polish, if they don't know how to do something, help them learn.
It's funny, that podcast you guys did with Jamie from JNG at SDC, one of my favorite moments of any detailing podcast I've ever heard is when he said, like, I forget the story, but something about his kids doing dance lessons and stuff. But he made a statement like you're making fun of people for learning. Like you're really getting down on people because they're trying to learn. Like, how ridiculous does that sound?
Yeah.
You know, like it's crazy to me. And that's one of the things that I love about being a member of the IDA, is that camaraderie, is having, you know, I've got a network of people that no matter what I'm dealing with, I can reach out and I'm going to find a friendly face. And that's been the biggest, you know, that was because when I first joined the IDA, I was unsure. I didn't know what the benefit was going to be for me. I didn't know, me as a supplier, if it was going to be beneficial to me. But boy, has that investment paid off more than I could ever say, because it's, you know, I have a network of 2,000 of some of the best detailers in the world that I can reach out to and say, hey man, I'm a member of the IDA, you know, and not that they won't help non-IDA members, but they know that you take it seriously. They know that you're a professional, and they will do anything that they can to help you. And that's that's the best thing about the IDA to me, is the network that it taps you into. So
and it's funny. I still see people bash the IDA, and they look at that. They look at it and they go, what is in it for me? And I look at it and I go, you're only going to get out of it what you put in. If you don't put anything into it, you may or may not get anything out of it but a piece of paper. But if you put something into it, if you go to the events, if you volunteer, if you sit on the committees, if you give some feedback, if you try to help the community, then you're going to get more out of it. And that's, I think, at that point, that is when, that to me is one step in your success, is when you realize that it's not all about you, it's about the community you're in, because you're not going to survive without the entire industry surviving. You can't do it on your own. And I think that is something other people don't realize, is you have to have a network of people. There has to be competitors. There have to be other product companies, or you're not going to make it.
Nope. And I mean, it's typically, I find those people that have that mindset, it's because it comes back to them and the belief in themselves not having something to offer. You know, it's, what's the idea you got for me? Well, it's more like, well, I don't know what I have to offer, so I'm going to use this as an excuse or a scapegoat. But it is, I mean, that's, you know, I was told that very early on by you know, Bob Phillips and Keith and Rennie, you know, go in there and give what you can, add value where you can. And I got on some committees, and I got a call earlier this year that said, hey, you've been, I don't know how they do it, nominated or whatever, to sit on the board of directors for the IDA. Are you interested? And I was like, well, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's a time commitment. It's, you know, every month it takes up a chunk of time, but I have learned so much about the industry and the IDA from giving back. I have, as much as I've given back, I have got tenfold that, but that was never my intent. I never gave to get. It is just a natural cycle. The more you give, the more you're going to get.
Yep, exactly. That's like being married. So. And that's for another podcast, but the more you give, the more you're going to get. And that's, I'm being serious about that. I mean, you can't go into a marriage or a relationship with somebody and be like, all right, so what is it you're going to do for me? That doesn't work.
Well, and that's,
you know, you got to be able to say, hey, what can I do for you?
Mm-hmm. You know, as men, we, especially with our wives, we tend to get in this, you know, we get this, this entitlement complex to where we start thinking that we're owed certain things, if you will, from our significant other, and we stop working to get that. We stop making ourselves attractive for our significant others to want to do those things for us. You know, we just think, you know, we're married, so I'm entitled to this. That's not the case. And with that mindset, you're on a sinking ship there. So absolutely, exactly. You have to continue. It's just with anything, you have to continue to grow. You have to continue to learn. You have to continue to add value. You know, Gary Vee says it the best: jab, 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 right hook. Give, then ask. Give. You know, it's you do that, and those right hooks are going to be way more powerful than those jabs. So, what you get is always going to be much more valuable than what you give if you give for the right reasons. If you're giving to get, that's a losing scenario. But if you're giving to genuinely help others. Not only, I mean, I get just from helping others, I get just the fulfillment of seeing them succeed. But then it all comes back, you know. I mean, I help this guy now. You know, there's one situation specifically. I helped this guy kind of get up and running, and you know, helped him along the way. And in 2 years, the guy's got 5 vans now. So we started buying a little bit of product, and now he comes in every month and is, you know, loan up a detail van of product. And that all started from just giving a little bit of my time, making a few extra minutes for him to explain this product and help him with this and refer him to this book and, you know, helping him get set up with the idea and things like that. So, and I never thought he was going to get, you know, he's one of my biggest accounts now. And I never thought that was going to happen, but it was just from, you know, giving.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, speaking of giving, we want to thank you for giving us of your time, your energy, your insight. You know, so, you know, a lot of people are not in your neck of the woods, right? Buddco doesn't serve, you know, outside of Utah, as far as I know, right?
Little Vegas, little Idaho. Yeah.
Little Vegas, little Idaho, right?
Pretty much Utah, yeah.
Very much Northwest. But I think, you know, to the conversation is like, there's so much that we bring to the table, you know, collectively, that if we're willing to give of our time, give of our energy, give of our experience, man, we can elevate everybody. And what you're doing in a positive direction in Utah can be positive for other people. So, you know, stay in that positive mindset of lifting other people, And when you do that, naturally it's going to lift your business, right? It's going to lift you as an individual, professionally, and your business. So
Absolutely.
we want to thank you for giving your time. Next week, Rod and I are going to be at the Air Force One event. So super excited about that. And so how do people touch base with you? I mean, you're on the IDA, but you're also
just the socials. Yeah. Buddco, Buddco _ is our social. For some reason, we have to add the underscore. I cannot find out why. Budco's not in use, but they won't give it to us. And then just Shad Stoker everywhere. Instagram, Facebook.
Shad Stoker everywhere. That's the new thing. Shad Stoker.
That's the
everywhere.
new tagline. Send me a message. Let's connect. I love to talk to people. I'm always here to help. So, gentlemen, thank you for your service and what you do for the industry. Because again, things like this is what is helping to expand this to more mainstream, and really the value that you guys add in the conversations that you have with these guys. I mean, I can't tell you how much I've learned from. I'm pretty sure I've listened to every one of your guys' episodes, and I have learned so much, not just about detailing, but just about life in general. So you guys are doing a hell of a job. Thank you for what you do for the idea in the industry. So keep killing it, guys.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, guys. And those that are tuned in, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And we will check you guys same time just next week. See ya.
See you later, guys.
Have a great day, brother.